through taxes. It's all here, brother. This is common history, simple history. You can get into complicated books and people. God didn't make religion that you need to be a master to even understand it. He made it simple so that anyone can understand it.
So I just want to remind.
So the same way you try to hold Islam in this light, if you look in the mirror, you have nothing left to talk about. You really don't.
So once again,
I'm sorry. Even as African Americans in America, a lot of them were actually brought here. They weren't brought. A lot of them were Muslim. We can all go watch the movie, Roots. You pray to know Allah. The master don't want you. You guys can't agree on his language. You can't agree on his skin color. If I've got 5 Christians together, they would say he's white, he's black, he's brown. I'm talking core fundamentals. You want to talk about other things. I'm talking about which religion is more authentic, which book is historically more accurate or preserved in a better fashion. You yourself are, I don't know what you call the term. What's the term that you say you are?
Christian.
You said post-millennial, you were saying to me?
Outside, yeah, that's my eschatology.
Okay.
It's different.
And a lot of what you were telling me is not what the majority of Christians believe, that you don't believe the Antichrist. I don't know what you were explaining to me. What I'm saying is that these are differences of opinion, okay? But if we look at core fundamentals, what I thought we're going to discuss today is, who is Jesus Christ? Is he what the Christians believe he was or the Muslims believe? Which book is preserved more authentically? In and out of context, I can play that game all day with the Bible.
Okay.
Do you believe in incest?
Let me get back on track.
Why does the Bible say Lot committed incest? Does that mean Christianity, they believe in incest?
No.
Okay, but
okay, hold on. You're getting way off topic.
But I'm
You've
just
interrupted me enough, so I would like to get back on topic.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Look, you said that wherever Christianity spread, the native populations were destroyed.
They were. They were.
That is completely false.
Modern
historians now point out one of the main problems in the Americas was the introduction of diseases that wiped out 80 to 90% of the natives because they just didn't have the immunity. The Europeans didn't know what was going on.
So there was no violence.
Hold on.
Right,
there you go. Let me finish my point here. Okay. When the Puritans came over, they created the written language of Algonquian so that they could learn to read. They made Christians have made more written languages for people around the world than any other faith. They were not wiping out people. Meanwhile, when Islam spread, that's exactly what happened in the early Umayyad Caliphate. Entire people groups were wiped out or were slowly assimilated into becoming Arab and specifically into that position. So this is a problem. So we can look at the actual historians. And I want to remind people what I'm doing is I'm saying, here is what the historians say. And unfortunately,
your historians.
No, what the
ones
historians say. Well, then you quote some.
Well, it's real simple. Anyone can go and do the research. We've all heard the history. 200 to 300 million people lost their lives, whether it was through disease or war, and they didn't come peacefully. The Spanish and the Europeans and everywhere they went, they didn't come peacefully, okay? And everyone, not a single person didn't remain that became Christian from the natives. That's a fact. Muslims controlled Spain for how many years? Over 400 or 500 years?
Mm-hmm.
Today, they're the most Catholic country in the world.
That's because of the Reconquista.
Okay, it's not
when they were in control of Spain, they were using coercive tactics, as Clifford Bachman points out in his book, The Worlds of Medieval Europe. They were trying to Islamicize the region, and they were going into the Christian regions and pillaging and taking slaves. And that launched the Reconquista because the Christians were sick and tired of being oppressed and treated horribly. Richard Bachman even says in his book, The Worlds of Medieval Europe, Muslims started fleeing north because they thought they were going to get a better life up there than how they're being treated by the Almohads, for example, or the Almoravid Caliphate or something like that. So we cannot whitewash this history here and pretend like it's always good. Meanwhile, when Christianity spread, it's always bad. History is telling a completely different story. So you mentioned incest in the Bible. I want to go back to that. Descriptive versus
I don't believe that happened, by the way.
That's fine if you don't
but
believe
it's mentioned when they're talking about the prophet Lot, that he was made drunk by them and slept with his daughters to save humanity.
And we point out in the Bible that
I don't think that happened, brother.
I'm not saying you don't. I'm saying you brought it up as an attack here, just because it's in our Bible.
Not an attack. I'm showing
our Bible documents sin so that we learn not to be like that. Mm-hmm. Lot is an example for us to learn by. We don't have to sit here and to defend all the immoral actions of the Old Testament. And you know why? Because the Old Testament is constantly saying, look how this man was set up, then he failed. Look how this man set up, and then he failed. It's pointing towards the future.
Do you accept the Old Testament as a book of God?
Towards the perfect man, Jesus, who's going to come. Because Romans 3:23 says, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So yes, Lot sinned. He did horrible things. When Muslims bring this up, it just shows they don't understand what's in our Bible and what it means and how we apply it. So we cannot be uncharitable in how we understand these books.
Do you accept the Old Testament as a book of God?
Yes.
Is it a book of God?
Yes.
Okay. When we talk about, so I want to shift. Okay, so we're more violent. You're more violent. I think anyone can do simple research and see, even on ChatGPT, if you pull it up, how many people lost their lives, whether through Christianity or Christian states or kingdoms, compared to Muslims.
And I would remind
I
people,
guarantee you.
please look at the research.
Okay, or research. Let the world go do it. I'm going to say my point. You're going to say your point. The audience can go do their research. Real simple. We don't have to spend hours on this. Okay, nothing has remained of their languages. Nothing has remained of even their own names. Cortez, Hernandez. These are not the names they had in the native lands.
ChatGPT said, depends on the time period and region you're studying. Most scholars conclude that religion itself is not the root cause. Power, land, resources, and politics are usually the drivers, with religion used as justification.
Probably getting that information from a great book written by William Cavanaugh. You would probably enjoy. It's called The Myth of Religious Violence. And he goes through and focuses mainly on European conflicts and notes, we cannot really say that religion is the main driving force between all this harm and violence. However, other historians
I don't think Christianity teaches that. So I want to clarify. So I want to make a point here. I don't think any of these doctrines teach that. Even Hinduism, which I don't believe in the caste system, but there's this essence of treating human beings the right way and blah, blah, blah. I don't think any of these faiths teach you to oppress people, kill people, and massacre people. There's evidence of this throughout all religions, but I don't blame the doctrine. And I feel like when it comes from your end, I'll sit there and defend Christianity in the sense saying, I don't believe that's what Christ taught. I know human beings make mistakes, leaders, kings, 100%. I think anytime the prophet had a conflict, it was justified.
So do you
I think when people do their homework, they'll see that that is the case.
So let's
I don't think it's in Islam's doctrine to force conversion when the book, yes, was there instances here and there? Absolutely, but not on the scale of Christianity.
So then,
whether you say it was political or not political, that's a whole nother argument, and that's opinion. We look at what? The fruits that are bared. How many people became Christian? Why did they become Christian? What was the economic situation? What was the military involved? How many people lost their lives, whether it was through the smallpox or not? It was a direct correlation to those Christian invaders conquering territories all over the world, period.
Christian invaders?
And let me finish. And let me finish. You don't let me finish. And there's instances of that in Islam also.
Okay. I have a question.
So it's not, you guys are like this, and then you ignore the fact that estimates say between 200 and 400 million people lost their lives since 1492 because of Christian states.
I have a question.
Did the Muslims start World War I, World War II, the Inquisition? How were Jews treated?
You are generalizing way too much.
You guys do.
You are generalizing, and you're saying, hey, look
you
what
guys
one do. No, I'm citing actual studies here and actual historians on books here. Now, let me ask you a question. Should apostates in Islam be killed? Because according to Sahih al-Bukhari, yes, that's violent. You can't just leave Islam according to the main hadith collection in Islam. Sahih al-Bukhari is very clear. There are numerous hadiths where Muhammad said apostates of Islam should be killed. Do you agree with your prophet that Islam should be killed?
There's no forcing to go into the faith. There is no compulsion in religion. If you go in and then defect, it's almost like treason.
Right? So apostates should be killed.
Okay, I don't agree with it in today's day and age, but maybe at that time, because of treachery, there was hypocrites. People got, like that tribe. They had an alliance with them. They broke the alliance. So I think it was to prevent that type of treachery. I don't think it's necessarily needed in today's world.
Where is the hadith that says it was just because of that reason and it's not a universal ruling?
I'm not saying it's not a universal ruling either.
That's violent, though. That leads to violence. That leads to oppression and discrimination in Islam because of that doctrine that apostates of Islam should be killed.